Let me start with a question, and I want you to answer this honestly in your own heart. When we take communion, do we really understand what we're doing? I'm not talking about whether we understand the mechanics of it, pass the tray, break the bread, sip the juice. I'm asking if we understand the meaning, the weight, the eternal significance of what we're holding in our hands when we do it. Because let's be real. How easy is it to let communion become a habit, a church routine, just another moment in the service that you know is coming? And if we're not careful, we treat it like it's just part of the schedule, instead of recognizing that we are stepping into something sacred, something holy, something that heaven watches. Communion is not a formality. It's a proclamation. 1 Corinthians 11 verse 26 tells us that as often as you eat this bread and drink the cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. Did you catch that? You proclaim. You don't just remember. You don't just reflect. You proclaim. You preach a sermon without saying a word. Every time you take communion, you're declaring to yourself, to the people around you, and to every force in the spiritual realm that you believe in the death, the resurrection, and the soon return of Jesus Christ. And you're saying something else too. You're saying, this matters more than anything else in my life. You're saying, my hope is not in my good works, not in my church attendance, not in my best behavior, but in the blood of Jesus Christ. That's what communion is. It's not a light snack. It's a loud statement. But we have to ask, where did this come from? Because Jesus didn't just invent communion one night because he thought his disciples needed a visual aid. He didn't say, guys, I'm about to do something big, and I need a symbol so people remember. No, communion is the fulfillment of a story God's been telling since the beginning. It started long before the upper room. It started in Egypt with a lamb, with blood, with bread, with judgment and mercy. That was the original table of remembrance. That was God introducing his people to the idea that salvation comes through substitution. That a life must be given so that another life can be spared. And that we must never forget the price of our freedom. From that point forward, God kept building the picture through covenant blood, through sacrifices, through prophecy, until finally Jesus stood in front of his disciples and held up that bread and said, "This is my body." He didn't say this represents a new idea. He was saying this is the fulfillment of the old. So today we're going to trace that story. Not just because we want to understand communion better, but because we need to remember what it cost. We need to remember that the body was real. The blood was real. The suffering was real. And the love was real. We need to remember that when we take communion, we're not just looking back. We're looking forward. We're proclaiming a death that changed everything and a resurrection that guarantees our future.